Now, the word game-changing gets thrown around a lot in motorcycling, but we think that the Aprilia RS660 truly is a game-changing motorcycle. This is a brand new sport bike from Aprilia, a bit of a blend of super sports and standard 650 bikes. This is a real gem of a bike, but is it everything it's cracked up to be? Let's find out today in this comprehensive review. Now, this ketchup and mustard Aprilia over here has been one of our giveaway motorcycles. We've had the pleasure of having this bike in the shop for about 4 months now, but it's time for it to go to its new winner. There's only 6 days left to get entered to win this bike. If you use the code RS660 on ynmoto.co or yammie.merch.com, you get yourself 10% off your entire order and 2x entries to win this bike. Every dollar you spend is an entry to win, but in this case, it's every dollar you spend is 2x entries to win. So make sure you sign up to get this bike because it is absolutely a gem of a motorcycle. And if you want a TLDR, we think this bike is excellent. It's a 9 out of 10, and we're going to talk about it today. And the sort of criticisms and nitpicks we have are just that. They're nitpicks. This bike is great through and through. But let's start off with the star of the show, this fantastic parallel twin engine. All right, guys, we're covering a lot of information in today's video, so if you want to skip ahead and see a specific part of this bike you're interested in, be sure to check out the chapters below on the video and bounce around to whatever you want to find out. But we're starting out with the engine on this bike, and it's the star of the show, right, Spike?
Oh, absolutely. This parallel twin here is the most unlike a parallel twin you're ever going to get out of a bike like this. 660 cc's, 270-degree crank. I actually think it's 275.
Gotta be specific.
Because it's a little special. And this thing is, I mean, it's putting down 100 horsepower and 50 foot-pounds of torque. It's a great number.
So nice. And then also on this bike, we fitted this full aero system, which will give you a glorious sound check. As you can tell, sounds very delicious. We put this aero system on. It sounds very, very nice. And we've actually have an ECU tuner coming from Rapid Bike by way of Motivation USA. Thanks, guys. And that will actually be shipped out with this bike whenever the winner takes delivery of it, which is pretty sweet. And we think this bike just makes a perfect amount of power for the street. It's so usable, so torquey, so fun. And as Spike was saying, it's nothing like any parallel twin you've ever tried.
The one weird thing I will say about this engine though, and hopefully the tuner will make a change with this motorcycle, is it has a noticeable kink at about 7,000 RPM where the power really comes on.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what that comes from. It kind of got smoothed out a little bit when we put this exhaust on there,
yeah,
but it's still noticeable on this motorcycle.
I feel like it's just the nature of the cams or the way the bike is set up, because like to make 100 horsepower out of a 660 parallel twin, I think you might have to make the dyno graph look a little funky. You know, it's making a lot of top end power and just nice usable low down torque, but there is a little bit of a weird kink in the middle, which is our nitpick for the engine.
I think one more thing that we should discuss here is 100 horsepower too much or is it not enough?
I guess it depends on your frame of reference, right? If you're coming off another Aprilia, let's say a 2.0, you're gonna jump on this and be like, God, I'm not getting enough. I can't wheelie this in third gear on power alone. What the hell's going on? But, you know, if you're a sensible street rider, you might think, wow, I can use all this motorcycle and have so much fun with it. And especially if you're a track day guy, this is your bike right here. A great learning tool, a perfect motorcycle to get better with. The power's never gonna scare you very much. So it really depends on your frame of reference. What do you think?
I think that this bike is definitely outside of the realm of a beginner. Even as somebody who's maybe a little bit older, like we say for the MT-07 and the Trident 660, this is not a beginner bike, period, full stop, end of story.
No.
Maybe if you're returning to motorcycling, you can get in with this, depending on how long your hiatus was.
Yeah.
But this is not meant for somebody who's green under the collar. I mean, it's too much motorcycle.
Yeah.
But then again, you consider some of the crazy Japanese sport bikes that have another 20 to 25 horsepower on this thing. But that power is way at the tippy top.
Yeah.
So I think you really need to consider your use case. As a street bike, this is like the perfect amount of power for you.
Yeah, now let's jump to our next section. All right, guys, it seems like nowadays on the internet, you say the word Aprilia and the next word that comes to mind is unreliable. Isn't that right, Spite?
Yeah, this bike has had the specter of unreliability hanging over it ever since Fortnite released their video about the engine oils, which people just, they took and ran with to mean that this motorcycle is bad. it's really not.
No, it's not, guys. Even though Aprilia is like shooting itself in the other foot by doing the engine recall, unfortunately, right? So we've got an issue with the connecting rods on some of the engines on the RS660s. Our engine does not have that problem. We checked the VIN and we're gonna get it sorted out. But then on the other side of it, we've also had an intermittent check engine light come on and off. So
yeah.
Is it unreliable? You know, we don't know yet, honestly. It's too low mileage to tell.
Yeah, so we do have the 2 codes that have come up. One of them miraculously disappeared, and then this one that we have is staying on there, and we are gonna get it taken care of. We also have noticed that the rear brake makes some funny noises when we use it.
Yeah, maybe we'll show you guys in a quick clip. As you can tell, just a little squeaky. We think maybe the pads need to be rebed or something. We just never got around to breaking this wheel off and taking a look at the pads and the rotors. But again, under warranty, if something's wrong with it, we'll just get it sorted. The rear brake works, but it just makes a weird sound.
And I think that's the takeaway from this is, yeah, we may have some weird things here and there, but the bike still works. It still turns on every single time.
Every time.
It just works flawlessly, really.
Yeah.
I mean, despite the specter of all of this badness that's been hanging over the motorcycle, it really has been a trustworthy bike.
Yes.
On the street and on the track.
Yeah, and for what it's worth, Aprilia is committed to replacing completely those engines that have the connecting rod issues. So a bike like this, you're gonna know that Aprilia is gonna get your back. It's under warranty, you've got all this cool stuff with it. So you don't have to worry too much about the bike blowing up and living that Euro bike lifestyle. But why don't you say we move on to our next section?
Yep.
All right, guys, one of the standout features on the RS660 is how much tech Aprilia has sprinkled onto this. It's a testament to the trickle-down technology you see from top-end leader bikes making its way to these middle displacement sport bikes. Spite, where do you even begin with this thing?
First, I would say it's not sprinkled on, it's been smashed in here with like a shoehorn and a hammer. There is so much in this motorcycle.
For what it is, right?
Yeah,
like
for this level of motorcycle, it is a ton. You've got 3 levels of engine management. You got 3 levels of engine braking. You have 8 levels of traction control, which is bananas.
Yep.
You have wheelie control. You have ABS.
Adjustable ABS to levels.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's crazy how much is in there just in terms of programmable modes, but you've also got cruise control, up, down, quick shifter, and a slipper clutch. I mean, you really couldn't put more into this motorcycle. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, the cruise control is a nice touch because as a fun little side feature, right underneath this rear seat here, you have luggage rack add-ons that you could put on. Like this thing is so like commuter ready, it's crazy. Yeah, topping all that off, you have the adjustable ABS as well, as we mentioned, but it's controlled by this Brembo master cylinder and a Brembo dual disc setup at the front. Very nice for this category of motorcycle. And it's all powered by a TFT display up front as well, so you can see what you're doing, even if the menu diving system is a little obtuse, right?
Yeah,
it's not great.
It is a royal pain in the butt to navigate. I feel like they could have streamlined that a little bit. You do have your regular modes that you can switch to, and then you have a rider programmable one. And if you really want to, you can get in and change the quick set modes too. So if you want more power in your dynamic mode, you can do that. It is very adjustable, but that raises the question, in a bike with 100 horsepower and 50 foot-pounds of torque, do you need all of this? Because the bike is $11,499 with everything put into it.
Yeah, and I know why Aprilia has put all this stuff in, is because it was easier to just take an old gauge cluster over here, this cluster from the 2.0 or whatever, and rather than, you know, building a bespoke one for this bike. But I have a hard time justifying 8 levels of traction control on a motorcycle that probably puts down like 90 wheel horsepower. You should probably just have like TC on or off at best. And honestly, the racer in me says to just manage the TC with your right hand a little bit because it's not that powerful. But it's cool and it's a fun feature and allows you to play with the motorcycle a little bit when you take it out to the racetrack. You can dial it into your preferences. It makes it feel much more premium and upmarket than other competitors to this bike, which we're going to talk about towards the end of this video. But I don't know, man, for me, I don't really need it. I don't miss it. I kind of wish Aprilia would make a base RS660 and then an RS660 SP featured like this with all this fun stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, I feel like if they could squeeze out some, like if they kept the quick shifter, they kept the slipper clutch, maybe keep cruise control, and then have, you know, no real adjustability in the menus and maybe just a regular sweeping needle, and they got it under 10 grand,
yeah,
this bike is a no-brainer at that price. I mean,
seriously,
it's awesome. But, you know, it is a huge flex to say, yeah, I got this Aprilia and it's totally customizable. I've set it up exactly the way that I want it. It's totally different than every other Aprilia RS660 out there. You know, there might be many RS660s, but this one is mine.
Yeah, and of those RS660s that are actually on the road and not in dealerships getting their engines replaced. Anyways, let's move on to the next section. Without a doubt, one of the #1 things you've probably heard about the Aprilia RS660 is how sublime it is on the side of the tire. Now that's due to a variety of factors, but #1 in my opinion is this awesome frame that Aprilia has put on this motorcycle. This is a twin spar aluminum frame like you'd see on a proper superbike or a proper sport bike. I'm thinking about bikes like the Ninja 650 or the Yamaha R7 as complete polar opposites to what this frame can do. Now, frames are incredibly important when it comes to the actual handling of the motorcycle, because when the bike is on the side of the tire, it's really the frame's stiffness or flexibility that's going to make or break the feeling of the bike. Now, over on the front end over here, we have these front forks that are non-marked. I can't tell what brand they are. I think they're just Aprilia in-house forks, and they're rebound adjustable only with preload as well. Now, you might say, oh, Yammie, it doesn't have fully adjustable suspension. The front end feel is probably garbage, but that's not true. The frame is doing so much of the work here that even with this sort of mid-level suspension that this bike has, it feels super good. Now, rounding out the back of this bike over here, we have this rear shock that is also rebound adjustable only. Now, again, you might say, Yammie, that's not a linkage suspension. I don't have rebound and compression. What am I gonna do? Again, this bike, the fundamentals are so solid that it doesn't really matter that the suspension components aren't that great. Now, to give you an idea, I ran the exact same lap times at Eagles Canyon Raceway on the ZH2 as I did on the RS660, so that should really tell you how great of a handler this bike is. But now let's pull all these facets together and think about how this motorcycle actually rides on the road. All right, folks, bringing this together, we've got the engine, the frame, the suspension, the technology, all this cool stuff on this motorcycle. How does this package work as a two-wheeled vehicle? Spite, what do you think of it?
So we've got ourselves a very amenable motorcycle, 32.4-inch seat height on this guy, which is a little bit tall, but it's a really amenable place to sit if you want to mount up on
Absolutely.
there. Give the people a ergo check here.
I mean, for you guys at home, my specs, 5'11", 32-inch inseam, slight bend in my leg, feeling good on this bike. Nice reach to the bars. Look at those, slightly risen above the triple tree.
And how does it feel? How does this ergonomic setup, is it compromised for your track riding?
I think a lot of folks would look at it and think, yeah, it's gonna be too, you know, street biased to have fun on the track, but I took this thing out on the track and absolutely railed it, and I had a lot of fun. So I didn't feel like it was that compromised, really. It was actually just nice to, I could feel like I could do like 20 laps if I wanted to and not even feel tired, because it was a little more, you know, not so aggressive. But if you swing your leg over it, you tell me how you felt as a street-oriented rider.
Right, so as I'm mounting up, it is worth pointing out that a couple of days ago, we have released my living with this motorcycle.
That's true.
So if you want a real deep dive on what this is like as a street bike, check that video out. But as a too long didn't read, at 6'4" in my boots with a 33 to 34-inch inseam, this motorcycle is perfectly comfortable for me to sit on. I am pushing these tank cutouts just a little bit. It is a tight fit, but I'm on the top end of where rider height is concerned.
Yeah.
The reach of the bars is super comfortable. I feel like I'm leaned forward perhaps a little bit more than you were, but I can sit on this motorcycle all day and be perfectly comfortable. It actually reminds me a lot of my VFR.
Yeah.
And, you know, with all the tech and the power, it's a really comfortable ride for the daily.
Yeah, and so as I mentioned, super fun for me on tracks. But would you say it's a fun street bike? Do you like riding it around for your living with?
Oh, absolutely. I love the sound. I love the character. It's easy to ride around in the low RPM, and then you wind it out, and you've got a really fun weekend warrior machine right here. It's a great bike.
Yeah, so we said that this bike is a bit of an odd duck in the category, but there are some bikes that are close as competitors, and if you're looking at buying this bike, you're probably looking at those too, so why don't we take a look at those machines. All right, the elephant in the room when thinking about the RS660's competitors, without a doubt, is the Yamaha R7. What do you think, Spite? Is that a proper competitor to this bike?
Yes and no. I think the best part about the R7 is its price. $8,900 out the door. I mean, it's a pretty good motorcycle because it just doesn't have the technology, right? It does have a quick shifter, does have a slipper clutch, but it doesn't have the insane level of technology. But you are getting fully adjustable suspension and you're getting a nice 689cc parallel twin, putting down 75 horsepower and 48 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
That's pretty much 80% of this motorcycle right here.
Yeah, the good fundamentals on the R7. We can't wait to get our hands on one. Probably gonna do one as a giveaway bike. Stick around for that. But yeah, the R7, MT-07 frame. This is a twin spar frame. We just think the Aprilia is a little bit more of a spicy, fun meatball. It also makes 25 more horsepower for all you spec sheet warriors out there. All right, what's next?
So our next most comparable motorcycle is one that makes the most similar power, the Honda CBR 650R. Now,
the fully faired one.
The fully faired one. Now, I have not confirmed a single, like, notable horsepower number. It's
all over the place.
I get numbers between 100, 94, and 84 horsepower.
Yeah.
So just assume that it's about 90-ish horsepower.
Yeah.
And about 45 foot-pounds of torque out of that bike.
We had one in 2019, and my butt dyno tells me that's about right.
Yeah, and the cool thing about that is it's an inline four as opposed to the parallel twins or V-twins that are in this segment.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that motorcycle is it has no technology in it whatsoever.
Nope.
And it's $9,400, which is a spicy meatball when you consider that the only thing you're getting out of that is an inline four soundtrack.
It's also a porker, if I remember correctly, right? 440, 450?
It's about 458 pounds wet.
That's 55 more pounds than this motorcycle, guys. That's I think the difference between you and I's weight, just about. So yeah, pretty crazy. What is the final competitor that you're thinking of?
The final competitor, it's a little harder to make the case for it, but if you're a hardcore racer, you want to go out there and you're looking at a Twins Cup class motorcycle, there is none better than the SV650.
The humble, tried and true SV650 is the bike to get if you are that club racing type. And honestly, they still get podiums and win in Moto America.
Yeah, I mean, crazy. The SV650 is a tried and true 645cc V-twin, so none of that faker parallel twin business there. Mm-hmm. You've got yourself that solid V-twin.
And that R6 is not a competitor.
It's putting down 75 horsepower and about 50 foot-pounds of torque. It's light at about 440, 430 pounds wet. And you're working with a price tag of $7,500. Mm-hmm. You do have to factor in the price of making it a sport bike, fairings and handlebars and all that stuff. But, I mean, it's a great motorcycle.
The SV is a fantastic bike. You can pick one up secondhand. They've been making them about the same for, I don't know, 20 years or something. And they make fantastic track day bikes. So if you're very serious about track day stuff, an SV650 cannot lead you wrong. Cue in Josh in the sky here, just like gleaming beautifully because we're simping for the SV650. But rounding all this out of this comprehensive review on the Aprilia RS660, again, I think this is a 9 out of 10 bike. It's so much fun. I love riding it around, and I'm really sad to be giving it away.
I got to agree. This motorcycle is a great package for the street rider who wants a really cool motorcycle that they can ride to work and ride in the twisty roads on the weekend. It was really kind of weird when I pulled this seat off and found the top case rack just sitting there ready to go.
I would have never imagined that.
It's a really cool feature to have on a motorcycle that really is kind of a dual purpose bike. I mean, it's not a dual sport, but it's just as happy on the street as it is on the track. And I really do enjoy this bike.
Yeah, this bike is fantastic. And remember guys, this is a giveaway motorcycle. So hit the links down below, ynmoto.co or yammie.com. Use the code RS660 to get 10% off and 2x entries to win this motorcycle on every dollar you spend. We are super excited for the next intermediate motorcycle giveaway we're gonna have. Stick around and check out that one in a couple of weeks. And we'll catch you in the next one. See you later. Keep watching Yammie Noob. 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 Keep watching Yammie Noob.